couch.
Oh.
Good evening, good evening. Hello,
Good evening.
everyone. Hello. My people. I guess y'all looking, when y'all log in, y'all see a different face. My co-host, Miss Jackie, isn't here today. She's out sick, so I definitely want to send my prayers and get well wishes to her to make sure that she's, in a good space. Definitely get well, Jackie. Miss you here on the couch, but we'll be back next week for sure. What's up, sis? How you doing? Hey, Tasha. How's everything? So, again, welcome to the couch. I'm Damien, of course, your host. And today, we have a special guest host, Dr.
Hello.
Michelle Harris. And we'll get into all of what Miss Dr. Harris does. Michelle, as I know her, because I've known her for years, and we're cool like that. But she's known as Dr. Harris out in the community, doing big things. So we're here, all that good stuff. I was able to, to get her penciled in my schedule, and she penciled me in hers, and we made it work.
Right.
It's all good. It's all good. So again, today, like I said on previous posts, today should be kind of interesting. Since we're talking about mental health, as always on the couch, that doesn't change. But today we're going to talk a little bit about religion and mental health and what I called it the slippery slope, for a lot of different reasons. And we'll get into a lot of that stuff today. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it, ask questions, all that good stuff, and enjoy the show. Because it's really just me. I don't have my co-host, so I was feeling kind of antsy, but now I got my friend, my good friend, old friend over here, and I told her that we are not that serious all the time. We like to have fun, but we also like to make it informative, educational, all that good stuff. And I just gotta be me. I'm not all the time serious. I just gotta be me. That's all I'm saying. I'm not your average therapist.
Okay.
That's my hashtag.
All right. All right.
So, before we get started, I definitely wanted to send my condolences to the McKeithen family.
Yes.
For losing a son, family member, brother, sister, that type of thing. That was definitely a tragic loss over there at Butler High School on Monday, as well as to the other family of the young man that was involved in the situation. That's also considered a loss because that's a loss of freedom, a loss of a lot of things in regards to family. So I definitely want to start this week's episode off with that, and definitely understanding how mental health, is involved with that in regards to bullying, whatever the case may be, whatever led to that altercation happening and that violence happening. We definitely have to make sure that we're checking in with our children. We spoke about that several weeks ago. Know your children, know what's going on with them in their daily lives. Just don't drop them off at school or just send them off to school and not really check in and see what's really, really going on. So we can hope to avoid some of these situations happening in the future. Definitely. All right?
Yes.
So let's get started. Let's kick our feet up and lay back on the couch a little bit. So again, I do have Dr. Michelle Harris. I call her Michelle. Dr. Harris is in the building. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming and blessing me with your presence
Really?
and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? I feel it coming on. I feel that energy, nothing but positive energy in here today, guys. And that's just how we're going to rock it.
Yeah. Well, I feel honored.
Thank you. High five. Appreciate it. So let's dig a little bit into Dr. Harris and get to know her a little bit and why she's here and why I considered her to be a special guest for you guys. What's going on, Kiba? Hope all is well on your end. So Dr. Harris, just tell me, well, before she gets into that, I'm going to definitely let you know that she's a magnificent therapist, a licensed clinical social worker, whatever.
Yes, licensed clinical social worker, not LPC. Yes.
Okay, you done? You done?
I'm just saying.
An author, a speaker, motivational speaker, life coach, entrepreneur, all of those things all balled into one beautiful human being. I appreciate her being here again. Thank you. All right. So tell my family and my friends and everybody out there, who is Dr. Harris? What are we doing? Let's talk about what it is that you're currently doing right now.
Okay, well, currently I am an executive director of Anew Health Solutions. My agency provides online consultations. I can also do in-office visits to people. I do life management, stress management is my primary focus, and it's also Christian-based. My main focus is to be able to get people who normally would not go and seek out treatment, people who are busy, they're doing their day-to-day lives, and they may not necessarily want to reach out for treatment, but they need tools and resources to not only to get help, now and get assistance now, but to also build up. I come more from I would say a proactive, not a reactive approach,
right,
wherein people will develop skills that would take them on the long run.
Mm-hmm.
I also have online courses as well, where people can take some courses. I do mind, body, and spirit. So I focus on basically not just people say they want to lose weight when they talk about physical health,
mm-hmm.
but developing resources and tools. Making sure you go to sleep at night, eating the right foods, those types of things as well are important. So
yes.
I try to focus on a holistic perspective, not just coming from just mental health, but
mm-hmm.
a holistic perspective.
Holistic approach, definitely,
yes.
definitely. Hey, Lysandra, how's everything? So, with that being said, what would you say is like your passion? What kind of, I guess, maybe pushed you in this particular arena? I mean, you can date it back to earliest college, or did you have a specific experience in your life that kind of pushed you in the forefront of mental health? And from a religious aspect, what are kind of like your passions right now?
I would say I would go back to originally what you asked about is why I got into the field.
Uh-huh.
I had a family member to experience an episode wherein they had to get hospitalized. And the mind always has intrigued me, just trying to see how it operates, how it works. So I knew I wanted to work on it and feel some type of way.
Right.
But when I, told my teacher about it, he was like, well, you can't make any money in the field. So I decided
mm-hmm.
to change my, my field
uh-huh.
and decided I was going to try to do physical therapy. That didn't work. So I almost
no knock on all the physical therapy.
No knock on it, but that was just not for me.
Germ checking in.
Yes. Oh, hey, Jeremy. He said, "Good evening, sister." I know he had to do it. So it just wasn't feeling right.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up having a 1.99997 GPA. They didn't even round it up to 2, but it's okay though, but I digress.
Right.
So I kept trying to seek of what it is that I really, so I started looking and researching in social work.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that social work was not necessarily just like from psychology, but they look at the community, and all of that as well. So I said, well, let me go and look into that. And ever since then, I knew that was it. So I started out in mental health in the field, and initially I was wanting to work in like hospice, that type of field.
Right. Okay.
But that still was not really feeling well for me as well. I just didn't fit. So. Mm-hmm. I ended up getting into mental health. I've been in mental health now for almost 15 years,
yes.
and I've been enjoying it since then. So that's how it all started.
Okay. So in regards to that, and I think me and you have kind of been in that particular field. Well, not in that particular field, but this field for almost 15 years now. What are your goals? We've discussed Anew Health Solutions and all the things that you do in regards to that. What are some of your goals that you have in building your practice and raising awareness in regards to mental health?
I guess they can go back to partially why I have it from a Christian-based perspective, because what I started noticing and just kind of when you look at the whole Christian faith, you know, we decree things, and we supposed to have this and supposed to have life and have it more abundantly. But when you talk to sometimes people, they are really struggling with some real things and they don't really talk about it.
Right.
And then I started noticing, you know, various articles in the newspapers of, you know, pastors who are committing suicide and things that were going on.
Right.
And I was like, you know, how is it, you know, that people are, you know, of the Christian faith, but they're not really walking in on their purpose, or, you know, they are struggling, but they really, you know, we come in, and I always say that we come in, I say a masquerade ball. We come in on Sunday, you know, you're shouting, you know, people running up around the church, you know, they shouting and rolling on the floor till they got lint balls in their head. And then, you know, you go out and you still struggling with the same stuff.
Right.
You're not really dealing with, you know, real issues. And a lot of times people be like, you know, we're going to pray about it. We're going to pray about it. But yet, you know, people are really struggling and really dealing with it, and it's not really addressed or really talked about. Then how can we really effectively heal, you know, from that? So that's kind of where I want to be able to see people to walk on their purpose continuously and not continue around the same cycle, you know, that we constantly be in all the time. You know, we get strong, we say that we're going to do things, and you know, you've dealt with people before, and sometimes it's draining because they stay stuck in that mindset. You know, but I always go to Romans 12:2, and it says to be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That means renewing, not renewed mind, renewing. So that means that we have to constantly have that renewal in our minds and our mindsets.
Renewing. That's the word for the day.
Renewing.
Definitely. Hey, Elise, there's definitely prayer without works is dead. Definitely. I definitely live by that mantra. You can pray, but you also got to do some additional things to kind of help yourself.
Right. Like she said, works.
Got to do it.
You got to work it.
You got to do it. So let's discuss. I mean, we've touched on A New Health Solutions and what that provides. So definitely, you guys, you know, definitely look up Dr. Harris and New Health Solutions online. A New Health Solutions.
ANewHealthSolutions.com.
Definitely. And all the information is there. Definitely. She's one of my colleagues in the field that's been doing an awesome job for years and years and years. And I'm glad to have her here. All right, so moving on to another one of your ventures and things that you're passionate about is being an author.
Yes.
So the first book, and I've read snippets of it, definitely.
But have you bought one?
Why she gonna call me out like
I'm
that?
just asking. He read snippets. Ask him how he read the snippets, though. But we're not gonna go there. We're not
gonna go there.
Yes.
Why are you trying to embarrass me in front of my family right now?
Okay, I'm just saying.
It is what it is. But hidden from invisible wounds is the book. And when we're talking about hidden from invisible wounds, what kind of brought that about for you, and kind of give the people what it's about and what can they expect from reading that book?
Healing from Invisible Wounds came birthed out of, I actually thought initially that I was going to be doing it for just training the churches, because I feel like, you know, the churches, we talk about depression, they talk about anxiety, they talk about mental health awareness, but they don't really dig into the depth of why a person is depressed. Why is a person abusing drugs? Why is a person that is struggling feel like they can't come due to the shame and guilt? So I wanted to have a book for people to be able to know that we all have some battle scars. We all have some things that we have dealt with throughout life. We all have had things that we have gone through, you know, but we don't have to stay where we are. You can get healed, but the main thing is to get healed and stay healed. So the book is kind of enlightening and talking about, you know, from a spiritual standpoint, and it also brings on not just from a mental health, but, you know, substance use, you know, various things that people deal with, you know, sexual addictions, that things that are going on that people really don't talk about, and how you can get healed. You can stay healed for an individual, a family member, and as a church as well, to be able to provide that support. Because at the end of the day, people come to the church most of the time for support.
Exactly.
That's going to be the first place they're going to go to.
Right.
Most
right.
of the times, they're going to go to their pastor and ask for their pastors for help.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, and a lot of times pastors try to provide the counseling, but, you know, when you sit back and think about it, you know, I'm not going to go, you know, to an oncologist, you know, when I need to be able to get help, you know, with a gastroenterologist.
Right.
You know, so you need to be able to link people to resources, and also as a church to have a place where they feel safe and secure, and not feel like they need to hide in that continuous shame and continue to stay bound. So that's where, you know, Healing from Invisible Wounds came from. Just letting people know that, you know, we don't have to stay where we are, you know, and we as people of God, we're supposed to be people of faith. We're supposed to be the ones who are winners, supposed to bring people to Christ and be the ambassadors outside in the earth.
Right.
But how can we be effective if we are continually staying bound where we are? So it's just basically getting healed and staying healed.
Right. And I guess maybe to add on to that, as far as the people that are already in the church, but being able to, I guess, maybe deal with your own issues in order to be that cup that pours into someone else that's coming in, that's wanting to be healed, that's wanting to be able to heal from these invisible wounds.
Right.
You know?
Right. And also I think about when I would see things like from the stories, and one that really stuck out with me was a pastor who was dealing with so much grief and loss issues that, you know, and he really didn't want to get the help, so he ended up killing himself in front of his family. You know, this one pastor, he was shot himself in between services.
Wow.
And, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, what's going on?
Right.
You know,
right.
I've had a couple of times wherein I have received, you know, inboxes of people, you know, this one guy, you know, he played for the church and he was like, you know, I thought about committing suicide. So what is really going on that we really feel like that we can't go to a place and go and be healed? And also for pastors that, you know, knowing number one, that you as the head of the church, even though that you are dealing with things, you can get help too.
Right.
You're human.
Absolutely.
Nobody's right. You're human, so you have to be able to take care of yourself. And sometimes, you know, when I have been in counseling sessions, it's the shame, is, you know, the thing that I feel like I'm supposed to have it together. And even with myself dealing with my own struggles, me not taking care of myself, not doing self-care. So how do you get to that point that you can stay healed? So the book just encompasses, you know, all of that stuff, and just kind of bring it to light of steps of getting healed, staying healed.
Awesome. Y'all heard that. So definitely, where can people find the book at?
Oh, you can find the book on Amazon. It is on Amazon. It's on iTunes. Wherever books are sold, you can go get it.
Look at that plug.
Yes.
And the next book, your second book, The Stress Factor.
Yes.
Definitely. And I think there's been a lot of highlights and a lot of mentions and a lot of people bringing forth mental health, you know, over the past few years, and definitely dealing with anxiety and stress. So I definitely think that that's a good book for people that have that definitely struggle with anxiety. So tell me a little bit about that one.
The Stress Factor is just a quick read for people who don't like to go in depth. Healing from Invisible Wounds is a little deep. You know, a little deep. You kind of sit back and reflect.
Okay.
The Stress Factor is just one of those little tools and resources you can pick up. It talks about, you know, various stresses that we may deal with, and just giving you just tools and resources on how to be an effective manager over stress. And a lot of times people be thinking of, you know, well, I'm supposed to have stress relief. We're going to have stress. I don't care whether it's good stress. Good stress could be getting married. Good stress could be, you know, me starting a new job. You know, negative stress, you know, once you get that job, your boss done stressed you out, you know. So the thing is to how to effectively be a manager. We are equipped to be managers of our lives. So how to be an effective manager and manage our day-to-day lives is what that book is about. Very quick read, you know, very simple. and, you know, just give you some tools and some resources of what to do.
All right. Okay then. So let's transition to our actual topic for today.
Okay.
Mental health and religion. And I called it a slippery slope because there's a lot of positives, there's a lot of negatives, there's a lot of misconceptions and perceptions that people have that within the church as well as outside of the church that kind of impact mental health, the stigma that's associated with mental health, and, you know, providing that support, as you said, for people who are dealing with mental health issues that are in the church, and kind of pushing that momentum or that movement forward within the church, outside the church. It really, you know, doesn't matter all settings, because we all deal with, you know, those particular issues. So my first, I guess maybe for you, how you being a elder in the church,
Yes.
right, as well as being a licensed clinical social worker,
Right.
or therapist, however you want to put this, but how do you deal with the separation that exists between mental health and religion? Or is there a fraction or a divide that exists between those two things?
Me personally, you know, people try to divide and say, you know, well, we'll just pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think I shared with you, you know, that when I did this sale for my book and I had it on Facebook, and this guy, you know, was trolling my page, and I was like, you know, why? You know, because he was saying, you know, he didn't need a psychologist. Jesus was all he need, and I was thinking, see, that's part of the issue, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Right.
Like when they talked about, like the sister said, you know, with faith without works is dead. You know, you can pray all day,
Right.
but if you're not working
Mm-hmm.
your faith, if you're not working everyday tools or resources to make sure that you stay healthy in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to crumble.
Right.
You know, I have had a point in time, you know, wherein I was doing ministry. I was speaking powerful messages. I was praying.
Mm-hmm.
I was at intercessory prayer every Saturday, and was still coming into church, shouting and still crying whenever I went home. So at the end of the day, what I realized was that I kept saying to myself, I got it. I got it. And, you know, and not knowing in the back of my mind, you know, that, like you said, I was going down this slope.
Right.
And then when I started thinking about things like, I didn't care if I didn't wake up anymore, you know, and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, well, you, the person out here supposed to be delivering the word to the people, are you really believing what it is that you're really speaking?
Right.
So
Right.
I really feel like, you know, sometimes we tend to, and I'm very much of a strong person in prayer. Don't get me wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in prayer. I believe, you know, I know who my source is.
Right.
But at the same time, if we aren't actively working,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and in talking with, you know, one pastor that came to see me, you know, and he had, you know, times wherein, you know, he was having issues with drinking, and, you know, he was coming home dealing with depression. So really getting to the root of what it is, to the
Right.
why.
Right.
Okay, so what is it that's going on? For me, I wasn't taking care of myself. I was having people that were pulling from me, and I was not taking that time out for myself.
Right.
And then you have so many things that's coming at you. So when I look at it, it's really no separation. We are a part of mind, body, and spirit. Just like if you're a person and you say, okay, well, I'm going to pray for the Lord to take care of me, and I know He's going to heal me.
Right.
Okay, but the doctor has told you that you have diabetes and that you need to be on a diet.
Right.
But you're going to ask God to heal you, but you're going to continue to eat your candy and your sweets every day.
Right.
What are going to be the results?
Exactly.
So it's the same way wherein I can sit here and pray all day. The pastor's not going to tell you to not stop taking your medication physically.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it so hard for us to say, okay, well, how about you go talk to somebody that can really help you to get to that point?
Right.
So I really don't see it as a fraction per se. I just see that it can work together.
Yes, absolutely. That's kind of one of the comments that I was thinking of. We go to the doctor if we get a headache or a broken arm or something like that. We're quick to go to the doctor, emergency room, dial 911 to get it fixed.
Yes.
But in regards to mental health, depression, anxiety, addiction, any type of abuse, trauma, then we want to just give it to God or whoever your God is and just leave it at that and then hope everything is okay. You wouldn't leave a broken arm broken, just hope that it snapped back into place.
Right. You're going to call 911. I hope that if I was to break my arm in the church that you would call 911.
I would.
Okay?
While people praying, right?
While you praying, please dial 911.
Right, exactly. Exactly, Lysandra. Prescription and prayer go together. Definitely. And while I was reviewing some of your statistics and research on my own, like one thing that was really astounding for me and kind of stuck out as far as pastors and leadership is that, 70% of them expressed that they experienced depression. Mm-hmm. That's really big. So over half, almost 3/4 of the clergymen that you see every Sunday or during the week or Bible study or whatever the case may be, they've dealt with depression, suicidal ideations, things of that sort. Are there things that you're doing on the professional side as well from a religious standpoint, things that you're doing to kind of help combat that within your own community?
Well, one thing that I do try to do is, and part of my business is I do offer that support to them at a discount. I have had people that I have seen that were pastors.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to break that barrier sometimes. And, when I look at when one of my classmates, her father committed suicide.
Wow.
And first thing that they were saying, he couldn't have done that. He was so full of the word and,
right.
He could have never done that.
Right.
But you never know what is really truly going on in somebody's mind. Mm-hmm. And I think the main thing is education.
Right.
With the pastors and letting them know that it is okay and not having to deal with the shame. And I know, and I can tell as a leader, it's hard sometimes to say that you need the help because you are the person that everybody comes to and you cannot do any wrong.
Right.
I can never have a bad day. Whenever I walk I can't go to the altar. Go to the altar. If I come to the altar, when I get up, I need to be prepared for somebody else.
Right.
Knowing that you able to have that time to be able to be weak and to be able to be vulnerable.
Right.
I have my core 3 people that I know that I can really talk to and have a trusting relationship with.
Right.
And I know that they're going to pray for me. I know to be able to reach out to them, and I just send a text. So I think, at first, I have been dealing with some resistance a little bit, but it's okay.
Right.
But I still continue to push forward because it's something that is needed.
Right. Absolutely.
It's enough of education. We got the education, but now let's get to the root.
Yeah.
Why is it that molestation is going on? Why is it that alcoholism is going on?
Right.
Why is it that the deacon is struggling with pornography?
Right.
What's really truly going on and getting to the core for true healing to be able to take place?
Exactly.
So, me trying to combat is, doing groups. Giving out resources. I have times when I do groups with women, just small groups. I love intimate small groups.
Right.
Wherein we can provide education, we can provide resources. I can provide healing.
Yes.
I just flow. I tell them I flow however God tells me to flow. I flow. So, at the end of the day, I think that when people are really able to take off the mask, if we are able to really, people say that they real, but do you really want to get real? And show that weak side of you to say, I need help.
Exactly. Or I struggle with this, that, and the third.
Right. And I really think that it would be very, very important for the churches to have a team that is equipped to be able to handle and know the community resources, to work with policemen, to work to know the agencies that are out here, to be able to get the people linked to the various resources.
Right, absolutely. So I read something, and I definitely agree with this, where it says pretty much on it. And the reason why I say it's a slippery slope, because there are definitely some positives and some definite negatives in regards to religion and mental health. And one of those things was that people that actually practice religion on whatever level, and they're involved in church and they participate and they attend services and things like that, they've shown to have or they're associated with better mental health. Just overall, from lower rates of depression, anxiety, as well as substance abuse issues and suicidal behavior. Now, the reason for that may be something totally negative, whether it's out of fear or judgment or whatever the case may be, but on surface they tend to have less rates or less episodes in that regard. But on the flip side of that, well, not even the flip side, but on the same side, people go to church, because you said it before, for that support. You have increased social supports, relationships that you develop over time. You tend to be a little bit more healthier, whether that's because you're fasting or you're just more conscious on that level in which you're connecting your mind, body, and spirit. So you tend to be a little bit more healthier. So there are definitely some positives in that correlation between religion and mental health, definitely.
Right.
But on the flip side, people that tend to, I guess, be more religious, they tend to not attend routine, just regular mental health checkups and seek out treatment because they're so devout in their religion, which could be that slope. Like, you're practicing, you're doing these things that you need to do, but yet and still you have these issues or this unresolved problem or concern that you have, but you're not going to the people that God has put in place,
right.
To actually help you in that particular area. So that there's definitely a slippery slope, and religion, as far as practicing, is not the only way. It's just one way that can help you to maintain that balance. But there are definitely more ways than just one, just to maintain that.
Right, which is true. Like you said, people have a hard time when you said the two extremes. The church is very vital and very important, can be a very important force.
Right.
But again, like you said, people who pray and feel the need that they don't need it are sometimes the ones who need it. And I think somebody just said a comment about sometimes the pastors lose credibility sometimes when they show their vulnerability. But at the same time, they may not need to show it towards the congregation.
Right.
But they need to know that they need to be able to be vulnerable somewhere.
Right.
They need to be able to have a point to be able to release somewhere. I don't go talk to a regular church person, that a person that I'm supposed to be ministering to, I don't expect them to minister to me.
Right. Right.
I know that I need to have somebody sometimes to be able to minister to me and to get the resources that I need and the help that I need as well. So I think that if we would change the whole perspective from looking at a point of me trying to go get help than to just live. This is practical living.
Yes.
If you can break the stigma, of me looking like I'm crazy, or people maybe looking at me funny, or if they see
crazy.
me, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all had some thought process, and if you really look in that book that we have, that big thick DSM-5 book, all of us have a diagnosis.
We can find one.
We can find one for you. I promise you, we can find one for you.
Everybody can have a diagnosis.
Yes.
I've said that on numerous occasions. It just depends on how you wake up that morning. You could be whatever.
Yes, because whether it's parent-child relational issues, that's in the book. Whether it's complicated grief, that's in the book. To the other extreme of schizophrenia, bipolar. So from one extreme to the next is in there. So if we can look at it from more of a health perspective as opposed to, a stigma attached to it. And that's why I think my purpose was to be more proactive as opposed to reactive. Let's not wait until we get to the point wherein, we are at a point where we having to get to that point where we're suicidal and all that stuff. Let's
just over
continually,
it.
just get services. If the pastors or teachers or whoever, if they have a mental health service or group that would help them,
Right.
have a counselor come in and talk about stress management. Have a counselor
Right.
come in and talk about when people have lost a lot of grief, issues, and come in and have them to talk about it. Have continual steps to be able to stay healthy.
Right. Absolutely agree. And as far as, I guess I want to get more specific in our community and in our culture as far as African Americans. We already, are on the lower end of, as far as cultures and groups of people that access treatment.
Yes.
So we're already African American now. Now, when you throw in African Americans that practice a certain religion, it's even less. So it definitely is very important that we reduce that stigma, talk about it, whether it's in service, in groups like you said, and actually bring it to the forefront and allow those people to understand that it is okay that you are having these issues, just like if you had high blood pressure or diabetes. It's the same thing. There's no shame in those things.
Right.
You can walk around and say all day, I got high blood pressure. They wouldn't say, well, I've been diagnosed with depression, or, I struggle with anxiety, or, sometimes I hear voices, or whatever the case may be. So I read something that Sigmund Freud stated, and I think this might be the part where it gets a little bit slippery, right? So I want your perspective on this, definitely.
Okay.
So, according to Sigmund Freud, he describes religion as an obsessive and compulsive neurosis.
Oh.
Those some words right there.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
And then other philosophers that are similar to Freud have claimed that they could qualify religion as a mental illness because it impacts your everyday life.
They haven't met my Jesus, honey. They haven't met my Jesus, because I get sometimes what they're saying, because I think somebody said about brainwashing and about about how people can be brainwashed,
Right.
because you do have some people who do abuse.
Right.
Wolves does sometimes come in sheep clothing. So we do get that.
Right.
That's why in my book I address getting to know God for yourself.
Right. Absolutely.
Having your own relationship. Because everybody that is a pastor is not called and is not chosen. So when
Preach.
you are getting your own relationship, and
Right.
in my book,
Right.
I talk about being prayerful and selective of people that you even choose, because sometimes pastors have taken and abused, or
Right.
leaders. I'm not going to say pastors, because I'm not just going to call them out.
Right.
But
Right.
there have
Right.
been some people in leadership who has taken that vulnerability
Right.
and has taken it for themselves. So you have to have your own personal relationship. And I think I talked with you the other day. The other day we had a discussion, and you
Right.
talked about things you do, your practice, and I tell you,
Right.
I know who I am.
Right.
I know what I've been through. I know my own relationship. Nobody has been in my house.
Right.
Nobody has experienced. You can take every Bible away from me, but it's my relationship with God
Right.
that you cannot take away from
Right.
me.
Absolutely.
Now I'm looking at, and I know that my mind, body, and spirit has to be taken care of. But at the end of the day, yes, it can be abused, because you're doing religion, you're not doing relationship.
Right.
Religion will have you doing practices. Religion will have you doing laws. Religion will have you, having this thing in your head of certain things you have to do
Right.
and how you have to
Right.
be. But
Right.
at the end of the day, relationship is what's important.
Right.
I'm not going to be here to judge you. When you sit here and talk about, when you go and you have this relationship with Christ, he said that I did not come for those who are well. They didn't need to have a physician. He's come for those who are sick. This is what we're supposed to be doing. So when you
Right.
have your own relationship, it's nothing that you can do to tell me to change my mind.
Right. Absolutely.
So what I encourage for the people out here is to get your own personal relationship. You know, and yes, there are people out here who are going to abuse. But when you have your own relationship and you're developing that time, you're spending that time in prayer, you're spending that time with God, you know, you're able to see that from that perspective, and you're able to choose the people that are in leadership. And just because they have a lot of people at their church and they have a big congregation does not mean they're called from God. Take that.
Y'all hear that?
So.
Hear that? So I understand that perspective. When we're talking about, I guess, a little bit deeper in regards to that, when we're talking about more severe mental health diagnosis like schizophrenia, there are some that say, on this end, from the religious aspect, you got religious leaders and things like that says it's, you know, it's the devil, it's a spirit, you got to get it out of them, the devil's talking to you. And then you have on this other side that says, you know, it's psychosis. It's, you know, when you're speaking in tongue or you get the Holy Ghost or something like that. That's a form of, a psychotic episode. But a professor at Duke said that 1/3 of psychosis involves some type of religious type of delusion. And I mean, I've worked with clients that will have delusions and hallucinations, and it's always something in regards to God seeing them, or they see this black space and they think it's the devil. So it's always something in regards to religion. Why you can't see flies or flowers blooming or something like that? Why does it have to be an entity or a God or a devil? What would you say in regards to that?
Okay, so what is your question again? Like, what's your specific
like
question on?
what is your thought in regards to you being in ministry and being a therapist? Where would you take that if someone says, well, I kind of see schizophrenia as my brain and my mind opening to this other dimension that's unexplainable? You know, we're watching things in black and white, and sometimes I see things in color. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that it's not real. Or would you take it more from a biblical and from a religious standpoint and say, well, you know, that may be God talking to you, or that's the devil talking to you? What's your stance on that?
Okay, so my thing is, what is that psychosis causing you to do?
Okay.
So
it may not be anything. They could just be
but this will be what you're asking me. So this will be my question.
Okay.
So if your psychosis, first of all, we have to look at we deal with spiritual attacks on 3 levels. I think we talked about this.
Right.
You know, we deal with a pressing.
Right.
What I talk about in my book, we deal with a pressing.
Right.
We deal with oppression, and we deal with possession.
Right.
So all of us have dealt with a pressing. You know, we deal with things, we deal with life. You know, you think about even with David with his brothers, and you know, and how he's dealt with the pressing, you know, with his brothers, and how he was sent out and he was not treated like them until he was called out to be king. Okay, so then you deal with an oppression. Even with Joseph dealt with that with his brothers as well, and then he was sent into slavery, you know, sold into slavery by his brothers. He dealt with an oppressive state.
Right.
Then you have those who Jesus healed through possession. The man came up to him, he was wild, and Jesus cast out the demons, and you know, and the demons were cast into these pigs, and you know, and they went off the mountain. So you dealing with various different levels.
Right. So
when I look at things from that perspective, I look at from a spiritual perspective, and I also look at it from a mental health perspective as well. So when you look,
go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
So when you're looking at that, what is it that is causing you to do? So when you're in that psychosis state, I have times you talk about speaking in tongues. You have things. You have people have visions. People have this, that, and the third. But what is it that it is causing you to do? Because the people that we deal with has caused a lot of things wherein they have become suicidal. They have attacked their family. Right. When you have a mental health attack, we know that it's not of God. Okay, so when you're thinking of that situation, it doesn't mean that the next person is necessarily possessed and they're dealing with the devil. may not be possessed because I may be dealing with depression, but
Right.
the person may be seeing things in color. We can never really fully understand the mind and how
Right.
things work
Absolutely.
and how they operate.
Right.
So where is that baseline for them?
Right.
So when I think of, when I have dealt with people
Mm-hmm.
and I'm able to kind of see things from that perspective, I do understand both sides. I understand the psychosis side,
Right.
but I also do understand the spiritual side as well.
Right.
And then just because people say that they have, I think we had this one client one time that was out there singing and dancing for the Lord, and she just knew that she had this relationship with Jesus to the point that she was buying stuff for Jesus on Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So you deal with various things on various levels, but
Right.
at the same time, when you're in that psychotic state,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that is causing you to do?
Now, I guess my question would be in regards, I guess from a professional standpoint, do you dictate treatment based on the perspective that you're coming from? Are you coming, if they're strictly coming in for quote unquote Christian counseling, is it going to be all biblical? And then if you're dealing with someone that may not believe in God, you understand what I'm saying? Or have a different religious preference that differs from yours, or they may be an atheist, or they may be they just don't believe in anything. They believe in a higher power, but they don't specify a name to that. How do you, I guess, maybe counsel those particular people who don't have similar ideologies as you? And they may say, okay, well, I've done my own research, and I think because we only access 10 to 12% of our brain, I may be accessing a whole different side of my brain that you aren't able to comprehend, and that allows me to see these different things. And they're taking it from not necessarily a religious perspective, but more so from a mental, a spiritual enlightenment that they may have been privy to, or been involved in.
Well, I always, which we always do in counseling, we always start wherever the client is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't try to force my religion on anybody.
Right,
I
right.
don't ever try to force.
Which is unethical.
Very unethical, number
Right.
one. And number two, I don't feel like I have to try to sell
Mm-hmm.
my belief to anybody.
Right.
But at the same time, I always start wherever the client is. If a person does not want to talk about their religion or their faith or from a different religion, I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I respect whatever it is your belief is. We can have a mutual respect for each other. Doesn't mean I can't help you.
Right. Right.
So that's the perspective that I come from.
Okay.
Because you can always go from different avenues and arenas to try to help someone. You
Right.
don't have to say, well, coming from a biblical perspective, okay, this is what you got to be. You dealing with the devil. You need to go home and pray. You need this,
Right.
that, and the third. I'm not going to ever try to force that
Right.
on
Absolutely.
anybody.
Absolutely.
Everyone has a right to believe whatever it is they want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So you always start wherever they are and always have empathy. Because like you said, people
Big
come
word.
in, and when you have a non-judgmental attitude, it makes them talk to you a little more openly about whatever it is they have
Right.
going on.
Absolutely.
And not be fearful.
Right.
And not, you have to always, I have to always watch my facial expressions because, the things that we have seen and heard
Yes,
throughout this
absolutely.
field, you just have to know that you have to have an understanding heart and to show that love and compassion.
Right.
First and foremost is to show
Right.
that. To be able to get them the help that they need. Because if they're coming to me, talking to me about it, then they are wanting that help.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes even in providing therapy, I know I found myself, whether they have dissociative identity disorder or schizoaffective, whatever that diagnosis is that they're suffering with, I believe them.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely believe if you say you got 4 different personalities, I'm going to talk to each one of them. Okay, who am I speaking with today?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And it comes across as I'm trusting this person. They trust me to give them insight, and I'm able to develop and maintain that rapport with that client. Because the more confidence they have in you and the more trusting they are with you, then the more open they are, or the more willing they are to take your advice.
Yes.
And recommendations.
And the thing is, what people fail to realize is if I tell you right now that my shirt is red.
Yeah.
And I have a true belief that this shirt is red, how are you going to convince me that it's black?
Absolutely.
And so I always have started wherever they are. And you and I used to get the worst of the,
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got stories for days.
Right. I'm like, wow.
Right.
But I always, and just sit back, and just listen. Sometimes people don't really sit back sometimes and just listen to what a person is really going through and what they have experienced. And some people have experienced some true stuff. And I can understand why sometimes your mind, people cope with things on different wavelengths.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Some things can really just take your mind to places that you would never imagine. And some people, you would think, you thank God right now because something can happen that can switch in an instant. And I, and I look at, when the onset for schizophrenia, sometimes 18 years of age. And I remember this one guy, he was sitting outside and I was thinking that he had some developmental disability. And so when I, came out and I met with him and they brought him back, the guy was a chemistry major. Chemistry major. Smart guy.
Right.
And
most of them are.
Yes. He left junior in school, in college. He came home and spent Thanksgiving with his family and called his mom and told his mom that his head felt empty. And thought that the TV was talking to him. That quick.
Right.
Is how your life can change.
Right. Absolutely.
So you can never ever look down upon anyone. And I hope and I pray, my prayer is just like you would pray for somebody with cancer, just like you would pray for somebody that's struggling with HIV and AIDS, just like you would pray for somebody that, just lost an arm, have that same compassion, for people and not, pick or try to talk about them or dismiss them, have that fear because a lot of times they are struggling and they just need that time, that person to show that love to them.
Absolutely. So I definitely want to get into some misconceptions in regards to mental health, religion, things of that sort. And one big one, I'm gonna go through a list of them, y'all, so bear with me. If Jackie's watching, we're not keeping time today. Good. But one misconception or one thing that's being said across religion is that addiction is seen as a punishment from God. I've heard that. I've read it. How do you feel about that? And I guess maybe when people have that thought, they tend not to seek treatment because it's a punishment. How can I change the punishment? If God is punishing me and has applied this particular thing, addiction, whether that's porn, sex, alcohol, whatever the case may be, it's a punishment from God. So I can't change it. I just have to deal with it until God lifts this curse off of me. And He's just going to send me down there with the devil, and I just going to have to deal with this hell until God delivers me. What do you say about that?
Why did Jesus come? It's by His grace.
Right.
Anybody that is perfect on this earth, you just need to go on up to heaven.
Right. And
we need to see you later.
Right. And one of the main things is it's all really based on perspective. If I think that I serve like a fearful God or someone that's a God that's vindictive, if I do something wrong, then I'm cursed or I'm going to be, sent down to hell or something like that. If I do something bad, then of course mentally my thought process is going to be I'm being punished.
Right. Because people hold in a lot of guilt. It's in your mind.
Right. And it's not in the Bible, Lysandra. It's not in the Bible. It's just research. It's research.
Yes.
And what people...
the misconceptions that people think.
It's a misconception.
And a lot of times people do have that misconception of, I've done things wrong. You think about sometimes we're in, you know, when you...
Why me? What did I do wrong?
What did I do wrong?
Right,
you know, or even just think about some thoughts that you have in your head sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, you know, you walk by, you be like, I'm going to smack my coworker. Because they done made you mad, you know. And it just come across your mind. You know, the thoughts come.
Right.
But when you continually ruminate on those thoughts, and you're not continually renewing your mind, and you're not taking those thoughts, you're going to continually have that thought process, and you're going to continue to stay on that route.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
you know, the misconception of it being a curse or a punishment, you know, you're not cursed. You were born fearfully and wonderfully made. You are unique. All of us are unique. All of us have a purpose to fulfill on the earth.
Right.
But what do we want to do with that purpose?
Big words right there. Big words. So another one that I've read is that some see mental health, and I think we kind of already touched on it a little bit, is being possessed. You're possessed by a demon or a spirit if you're diagnosed with a mental health disorder. Whether that's depression or anxiety or something, it is something that God put on you or allowed the devil to take over your body and to take over your mind.
No, I mean we have all dealt with that. We have all had. I mean, some people are really dealing with some chemical imbalances in the brain, you know, and it's real.
Right.
And it's nothing with you being possessed. No. The devil is not possessing you. Go get help.
Right.
Go get help.
Right. Absolutely.
So, that's all I can say with that.
Another one is that I guess maybe from an overall standing that people in religion or that practice faithfully often frowned upon mental health because it's not understood or sometimes it may go against what's stated in the Bible as far as like put your trust in God and not in man. And if I'm going to seek treatment by a man, then I'm not following God's will, which means that ultimately I'm going to be cursed either way. If I go get the treatment, I'm going to be cursed because it's not God-like. And then if I don't get the treatment, then I'm also going to be in this mental anguish because I'm dealing with some issues.
So you're saying that people should just put their trust in God, but God put people here on the earth for a reason. Right.
So that's just a misconception.
Another misconception.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's why we're here. We're here to help people to get to that next level, to let them know they don't have to deal with that mental anguish and that torment.
Okay. And I guess maybe we've already kind of talked about this one as well, as far as, you know, it could be prayed away. All you gotta do is pray, and you know everything will get better, which is a definite misconception. That's only part of it.
Yes.
You definitely have to work at it and do some changes within your own self. Become self-aware, and do the things necessary in order to maintain. Because we all have episodes, we all have issues and things that we are currently working on, and it's an ongoing process. Definitely. Okay. Now, have you ever, I guess maybe this will be a question for you. Have you ever experienced, outside looking in the church, people discriminating, I guess, showing discrimination towards people with mental health issues? Like it may be someone that's really, really struggling, and they may look disheveled. They may come into church, you know, run down, all these things, and they looking at them like, you know, he's possessed by a demon, or he's talking to himself, and like, oh God, like, no, he has to go, like, type thing. Have you ever experienced something like that?
Yes. It's sad because you're supposed to come to the church for healing.
Right.
And it's sad because I have seen where people have been discriminated against because they don't look like them, or like you said, like they may be doing things that's not normal.
Right.
That we would consider normal, or our character.
Right.
And so they try to stay away, or like I said, disregard what they're saying. You know, or they just talking, going over there. You know, so I have seen it, and it's hurtful to see sometimes, because
absolutely.
you know, these people are coming, and they're coming for true, sincere help, and they're coming to try to get help. But at the same time, when I feel, and people know when you really truly are sincere, and if you're not really coming to me out of true love, that's a hurtful feeling for them.
Absolutely.
And it puts them in even more in a lonely and to be more isolated. And then that in turn cause more, you know, to get worse.
It causes, one, for your mental health symptoms to increase, but it also further segregates you from the church, religion, and everything else. So you tend to see more atheists or people shying away from the church due to that discrimination in regards to mental health.
Yes.
Because I guess that overall feeling, or that misconception, is that mental health is seen as a spiritual demon, and it's evil, and it was sent by the devil to destroy you, and all those things. And if you're presenting those symptoms, or if you've been diagnosed with a mental health disorder, then you have some type of evil spirit within you, which is like, it's crazy. But I've honestly had conversations with people, whether that's me doing an assessment or just doing therapy, and I ask them about their spiritual and religious beliefs, and they'll say, well, I stopped going, you know, especially once I, you know, got diagnosed with XYZ, I stopped going because people looked at me different. I was kind of like a castaway, and it was supposed to be the total opposite. So you got, in addition to what you're already dealing with, you're dealing with that hurt and that shame, and, you know, for some reason they would have that guilt associated with it too. Like, I just want to, you know, be able to praise whatever God that I want to praise, without feeling this additional stuff from people that's actually supposed to be there to support me.
Right. But I always encourage people that come to me and say that, you know, or they'll say, I'm going to come to church whenever I get myself together.
Oh, what's the?
Yes. So that's like me saying, I'm going to go to the doctor.
Right.
Once I get well.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
So one thing that I encourage people to do is to get delivered from people. I go to church. I love my church family. By the way, hi, Friendship.
And it's not missing. It's not, some bits are not missing. That's just how it's set up, Lakia. It is not missing. That's just how it's set up. We're eclectic in here, and it's the feng shui in here. Don't be knocking my feng shui on the couch. Right. I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you. But it's really not missing.
Right. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Friendship Christian Church. I see my church family, Cynthia, Brother Ivy. Love you all, and Brother Calvin. So hey y'all. But I just say that to get people away from, I'm not going to judge you whatever religion you do, but to work through and get delivered from about the whole getting myself together, I'm going to shy away from the church, and just get there.
Right.
Get there to get your healing.
Right.
If they said that they were going to be passing out $10 million and you just got to get in that line to go get it, you're going to get it.
Right.
You don't stop going to work because you don't like your coworkers.
Right.
You go there because you need something. So you're going there because you have a need.
Right.
Go get it.
And I think sometimes I think it just depends on where you're at mentally in your spiritual journey, because church could be within you. I mean, you are the church. So somebody said, well, I don't go to church, but I'm not talking about whether you go to church or not. You know, what are your preferences? What do you do? What are your practices in order to help you maintain that mind, body, and spirit? I mean, you are the church. You don't physically have to step inside of a sanctuary to practice or to have a relationship with God. It's helpful because you can learn some things and you can be taught some things. But again, back to what you were saying, having that personal relationship with your God is the most important thing. Definitely.
What she said? Where is the couch?
It's wherever we sitting at. It can. You're gonna have to go back and look at some of the previous episodes. We upgraded, but it's always going to be the couch. It's always going to be the couch. It don't matter if we're on a bench, if we're in studio like we are right now, if we're on an actual couch in my office. It really does. It's the place. The couch is mental up here. You know. So that's where it's at. We are the couch. We are the couch. It's people. It's not a physical thing. It's an idea.
I know Brother Wingo said, Calvin says, I'm going to get mine, all of it. I know that's right. You better get it.
Okay. So again, I guess, guys, we're going to wrap it up. This is, today's session. I think this was very informative. We addressed a lot of misconceptions, a lot of thoughts in regards to mental health and religion and how it impacts us, and doing, I guess, maybe both sides of the spectrum. And it's definitely something that I like to dig into, because I always like to be the devil's advocate in certain situations. I just like to make people brain, wonder a little bit. But we're definitely going to talk about this more. I'm definitely going to have Dr. Harris on again.
Thank you.
If she will have us, she's definitely more than welcome to join the couch whenever her schedule allows it, because she's a busy person. Definitely. She's just, she got a lot of stuff going on. And we're just going to be here every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We're going to be
awesome.
here.
Awesome. And I wish you all much success.
I appreciate it. Any final words before we go ahead and shut it down? Anything that you want these people to know and feel and understand about Dr. Harris and what she presents in regards to religion and mental health?
No, not so much as focused on me. I just want to talk to who all are listening, who's going to be watching, to know that, number one, let's just push past the stigma. Number two, you all have a purpose and a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Each of us were planted here for a reason. And work your purpose. Work your plan. Do the thing, whatever it is that God has for you to do. And if you are in that situation wherein you feel kind of like that you're struggling, that you feel like you're at that end, don't be afraid to reach out.
Right.
Talk to somebody. Go ahead and get you somebody that you can trust. Be prayerful about it, but just know that you are here for a purpose. And I always tell somebody, all the time, that this too shall pass. There's always a new chapter. Just turn the page. It's going to happen for you. Turn the page.
I like that one. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for tuning in to The Couch. As always, it's your boy Damien here. Don't forget to like and share this video. If it's not helping you, it can definitely help someone else, and we can just continue to pass this on. Hey, what's going on, people? Also, don't forget to download the TuneIn app, Power 104.4 FM, broadcasting Mondays from 2 to 3. Definitely. It's a little bit different when you listen to the broadcast. I was actually doing it yesterday, and we got the intro music and the outro music, and it's like it's real professional and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? So definitely download the app, like and share it. Like our Instagram page at the Couch 704. Also, we're on YouTube as well at the Couch 704 as well. Click subscribe to it. Go back and look at the old episodes for the new people that are just, coming in. Thanks to Dr. Harris. Definitely check out previous episodes where we discussed everything mental health, from diagnosis to depression to anxiety. We talked about stress in the workplace last week. So it's a lot of different topics that we're definitely addressing. We'll continue to address. If y'all got any comments, questions, anything that y'all want us to specifically talk about, feel free to inbox myself, at the Couch 704, Miss Jacqueline Curry as well, and we'll definitely get that on the show. When is part 2? It's coming. It's coming. We'll definitely give you a heads up way ahead of time when we're bringing back on Dr. Harris, so you can definitely chime in. But feel free to check us out every week because you never know when it's going to happen. Because sometimes I don't even know when it's happening. It just happens.
Well, I need for you to know when it's going to happen.
It's divine intervention sometimes, I guess. You know? She's still on this wall. Really?
Well, it does have a little...
Well, how do you pronounce her name? Is it Leica?
I don't know.
I thought that was one. I don't know. But I appreciate you really liking the wall. I appreciate it. We set the tone. We got our feng shui going on in here. And it's pretty dope. I think it's pretty dope. Yeah. It's not missing. It's not missing any boards. Cool. Appreciate that, Lysandra.
Well, thank you.
So, again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll definitely put Dr. Harris's information on our page. So, definitely, if you want to reach out to her, whether you're in ministry or whatever the case may be, or just looking for another voice, you know, for therapy or want to process some things, she's
or
definitely...
Or to come to your church to do a training. Yes. I'd be willing to come into your church and do a training
Absolutely.
As well. So,
definitely.
groups, whatever it is that you all need, we're there. And I'll bring Mr. Harmon with me.
I'm there. Y'all see me every week. I'm here. You know, ask questions, whatever. But again, please check us out. Please share this stuff, you guys. It's very important. We have fun on the couch, but we also make sure it's informative and make sure we're getting our point across to reduce the stigma associated with mental health. Again, thank you for coming on the couch today.
Thank you for having me on the couch.
Thank you guys for watching. Again, your mental health matters, and we can definitely always talk about it, you guys. All right? Peace and blessings. Y'all have a good evening. All right. See y'all next week. Peace.
Bye.
Bye-bye.